Now, we all watched Adam Neumann's dramatic fall from grace, but his exit did not mark the end of his company WeWork or of the larger co-working space industry at all. Competitors are really out there trying to prove to investors that the business model works. And one of those competitors is Tribe's Inspiring Workplaces. It bills itself as a community of business nomads and operates in a number of cities across Europe. Joining us now is the Tribe's founder and CEO, Eduard Schaepman. So, Eduard, when you look at what happened with WeWork, I mean, it was a spectacular fall from grace, all of it embodied in Adam Neumann and how he really spoke of the industry and what happened thereafter. Was he and was WeWork good for your business and the industry overall?
To be honest, he was very good for our business because in the end, the market understood what co-working was or is. I mean, it's a word, before that it was called business centers, meeting centers, and now it's called co-working. But because of his brand and the way he performed in the media, a lot of corporations, but a lot of people did understand what co-working is, and that you can indeed lease workspaces for a shorter period than 10 years. So that worked out pretty well.
And what about growth continuing in the space, the desire for people, the nomads as you call them, to come and work in your spaces? Is growth as it always has been?
Well, the growth is even better. We had our best sales months in October. The reason is that I think the square meter is, under pressure. There is not a lot of buildings available. If you look at the Amsterdam market, for example, where we are operating, there is hardly any vacancy. It's 99.4% occupied. The same in Frankfurt, the same in Brussels. So there is not a lot of buildings. So people are looking for square meters or workplaces to sit and to run their operations, and it's difficult to get. If you compare it, for example, on all lease contracts in Amsterdam, only 5% is on operating companies. So there's still a lot to grow.
Okay, so square meters in Europe, square feet here in the U.S. Compare and contrast how the operations differ and how co-working differs in Europe versus the U.S.
Well, of course, we are a little bit more conservative. So most of the models, operating models in Europe are profitable. Like Tribe's Inspiring Workplaces, we exist now for 4 years, but we are a profitable business, and we had to show ourselves that we could make money, because otherwise why should you grow your business? And of course, if you enter again in New York and in the US, everything is on growth. And that's a little bit different in the conservative part of the world, especially on the continent Europe. And the other difference is there's a lot of laws we have. So somebody who wants to work in a place needs, as an employee, at least 6.4 square meter, and that's not obvious in the US, in New York. If I look at this lovely building on Bloomberg, you're sitting nice and tidy to each other, but that couldn't be possible in Europe. So there is a difference in operations.
Interestingly, you'd been said in the past is that WeWork, to a certain extent, had been undercutting, had been offering very cheap offerings to those who were perhaps putting too much pressure on the market. Do you think that we're seeing a rationalization if they start to come out of the market, or they have to operate from a profitable perspective rather than a growth perspective? Will we get a healthy dose of rationalization when it comes to the prices being offered in co-working spaces?
Well, I think in the end you should have and run a profitable business to be sure that you are still there. If I talk to our clients, they really want to know that we will be there in 3 to 4 years' time, because there are the lengths of the leases contracts we are now closing. They don't want to change from operator, so they want to continue on the same operator, and they don't want to change that. So they also want to be quiet for all their employees working with them, and therefore it's good that you can show the market that you are still there and that you will exist in a longer period.
Now, with WeWork's demise, and not demise so much as its aggressive cost cutting right now, what kind of opportunities has that created for you? Are you able to pick up some steep discounts that were offered to WeWork and pick up some of the office space that they had planned to take up?
Well, in the end, I don't think it's about price only. It's one of the piece in the marketing mix, price, but it's also about services and products. And the thing is that you should serve your customer instead of hook them up in offices. And in the end, what I can see is that a customer also wants a contract with a company which exists for a longer period. So for me, it's clear that Yeah, well, big corporations are doing business with corporations who are profitable.
Interestingly, our excellent reporter Gillian Tan had previously reported that you perhaps have, in hindsight, a lucky escape. You turned down investment from WeWork.
That was in 2015, indeed.
And instead you took it from Oaktree.
Yep.
What's the benefit of taking money from Oaktree Capital? What have they given to you, and how pleased are you that you didn't take it from WeWork?
Well, everybody warned me, of course, that private equity is working difficult with private equity company. But I have to say, this is a very nice company, which guided us through these years, working now with them for 3 years. And they learned on us also a lot, to be honest, not on our own expertise, but we worked quite well, and we saw through that we were indeed profitable on locations now in March, but on the whole company since June. And that was exactly 3 years when they invested in us.
Are you still needing investment?
No, we don't need investment.